Welcome to the City of Louisville Remote Planning and Zoning Commission meeting over Zoom. Today is November 17th, 2020, and we have a quorum present virtually. I want to give everyone listening from home some instructions on how to speak if you desire to. If you are viewing on your computer or through the smartphone application, press the Raise Your Hand button. If you have called into the meeting, press *9 to raise your hand to speak. Once your hand is raised, staff will bring this to my attention and we will let you speak after the item is read and the staff presentation given. If you are having trouble using these features, please email planning@cityoflouisville.com or call 817-938-4409 for assistance from staff. The first item on our agenda for this evening is to approve the minutes from the November 3rd meeting. And if there are no corrections or additions or discussion, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Motion by Francis.
Second.
Second by Karen. We'll have a roll call vote. William?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
I vote aye. Alvin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
And Francis?
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 absent. Motion passes. We have one regular hearing on the agenda next. This hearing is the final plat of the Wager Addition, lots 3 and 4, Block A, on 5.469 acres out of the Augustus G. King Survey, abstract number 9698, zoned light industrial district, located at the southwest corner of East State Highway 121 Business and South Valley Ridge Boulevard.
Good evening, Commissioners. So the final plat of Wager Addition was submitted on October 19th and has been reviewed by staff. Staff recommends disapproval of the above plat with following reasons based on the land development regulation and the zoning regulation. We ask that the revisions be made where they present the easement information for the offsite sewer and also provide a correct signature block for P&Z and also show existing 30-foot sanitary sewer and the buildings that are required from the easement, provide water and sewer easement for existing public utilities, provide offsite utility plan to verify easements, and to provide right-of-way corner clip, which should be at 20 by 20, and also provide a building setback for the light industrial zoning of the land. So the applicant, Lattimore Materials, they are using a southern portion of this lot. They plan to split the lot and sell the northern portion at the street corner to a light industrial user. We do not have any development proposed for that lot at this time. For right now, their purpose is to split the lot and turn it into a legal lot because currently it is on platted tract. Do you have any questions?
No.
What is your recommendation, June?
Oh, I'm sorry. So the staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission disapprove the final plat for the above reason deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the to approve the plat once all the deficiencies are corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no questions, may I have a motion?
Motion to disapprove the plat based on the delegated deficiencies, giving staff approval to give approval after the deficiencies are corrected.
Second.
Motion by William, second by Karen. And take a roll call vote. William?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
I vote aye. Alvin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
And Francis?
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 absent, motion passes. The next item on the agenda this evening is for a public hearing, and this is in a consideration of a zone change request from light industrial to medical district on approximately 9.25 acres, legally described as Lot 1R-2, Block A, Valley Ridge Addition Phase 4, located in the southeast quadrant of Garden Ridge Boulevard and Valley Ridge Boulevard, as requested by Brian Shui, Sparrow Partners, on behalf of Louisville Independent School District, the property owner. This is case number 20-10-6Z.
Okay. Yes, Commissioners, the 9.25 acre subject property is currently vacant and is surrounded by single family to the north and south and multifamily to the east and retail building and undeveloped commercial land to the west. It is currently owned by LISD. However, it is no longer needed for school facilities, and the applicant plans to build an age-restricted independent living facilities containing about 192 units. The city is working with the applicant to dedicate approximately 3 acres as parkland to the south of the property, abutting existing 100-foot wide drainage right-of-way. The applicant is proposing medical district, which would allow the proposed active adult senior living community. The property is on the southeast quadrant of Garden Ridge Boulevard and Valley Ridge Boulevard. The property at the corner of the light industrial contains a small retail center, approximately 16,000 square feet or so. And the 2 lots fronting Valley Ridge and Garden Ridge is currently vacant, and the applicant is proposing the development in the vacant land that is adjacent to the existing multifamily. The applicant is requesting medical district, which would allow for a senior living facility and any alternative uses that would be permitted in the medical district are medical offices, medically related retails, laboratories, and daycare centers. The Louisville 2025 plan calls for an area to be a thriving neighborhoods. Senior living would provide a neighborhood choices that to keep the senior, the residents in their community, even when they do not wish to live in a single family home anymore. So the applicant has sent us a non-regulatory concept plan with their rezoning request and has been reviewed by staff from engineering, planning, and building services and fire prevention. It's in general in compliance with regulations, although all the details will have to be worked out during the actual engineering site plan phase when it becomes a true development plan. So as you can see, they are dedicating a total of 3 acres for parkland. And this is the option that the Parks Department Director recommended, is to have 2-point connection at the Valley Ridge and to loop it around. As this is going to be dedicated to the city, it will be for public use, and having the 2-point and the loop will add on to just the areas that the residents in this neighborhood can walk or jog or take their dogs for a walk. The applicant is proposing, So we actually recommended some opportunity for this to make connection to the Garden Ridge Trail to the west. However, the applicant was not able to obtain any easements or obtain any land at this point. However, with the option that is displayed here, that our Parks Department think that it will become a meaningful place, as it will have a good loop around the sizable property. We did receive a letter of support from the property owner to the west, who owns the commercial property. We did receive a letter of one letter of opposition from a resident who lives to the south in the single-family neighborhood. We did receive one inquiry from a resident to the south also. She has some concerns. However, after finding out what the proposal looked like and hearing about the park dedication, she felt a little more comfortable and said if she truly wanted to express opposition, she will turn in the letter at a later time, which we have not received yet. The applicant and the engineer for this project is joining us currently. So if you have any questions, they'd be happy to answer that too. And the staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval for the zone change request from light industrial district to medical district as requested. Staff is also available for your questions.
I have a question, June, on the
Yes.
medical district zoning.
Mhm.
Why is it the preferred zoning instead of multifamily?
Right. So the multifamily, so we prefer the medical district because it has the age restriction on it, meaning that, so we consider that to be lower impact to the surrounding area than a typical multifamily because with these senior living facilities, typically we expect less traffic increase for during the commuting hours. They are required to provide 1.2 parking for each unit compared to the multifamily where we're expecting them to provide 2 for each unit. So another thing is that medical district specifies certain uses there. So even if this project does not become a senior living apartment, someone else will not be able to just build another apartment because medical district, it has to be age restricted.
Okay. Okay.
June, I had a question. So the one resident that had opposition against it retracted that and said no longer.
Well, she wanted time to consider, so I'm not sure she fully
Okay.
retracted it, but she did say after a conversation that she felt a lot more comfortable with it. So one of the main things that made her feel comfortable was compared to the light industrial, which is the current zoning. So in the light industrial, any office warehouse type of development is all allowed by right with the current zoning. So I explained to her that she could easily face the back of a retail center or a back of a warehouse where the truck loading areas are. And the fact that they're dedicating parkland in the back of the property, I think that kind of eases her off because one, it will provide the extra greenery in the future when it's developed as a city park, and it will be untouched of, whatever that's existing trees and bushes, that will likely remain as is and undisturbed unless some areas needs to be disturbed for the construction purposes. And I think another thing she realized was it's further away from the property line than she thought, because if you look at the multifamily to the east, it actually is very close to the drainage easement. However, with this land dedication for the park, it's actually sitting a lot of far away from the houses. So she felt a little more comfortable. She addressed a lot of questions and went through some things with staff, and she says she'll think about it. So I'm not sure if she has decided, but she did mention that she felt a little more comfortable about it.
To be clear though, Commissioner Awali, we do have one letter in opposition that's from a separate person.
Yes.
My name is
This
Katie.
is not
Can you hear
including the
me?
one.
And just real quick, we do have members of the public here that do want to speak. We have not quite opened the public hearing. I think a few of them got here after Mary Ellen, our chair, gave the instructions on how the public hearing would be run. So I just wanted to let you know, Mary Ellen, that we do have some speakers here tonight.
Okay.
No
Before I
questions.
open the public hearing, are there any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, a couple questions. What are the facilities on site that are going to be available for the I guess, the senior independent living facilities?
Joe, would you mind, or Joe or Brian, would you mind answering that? William, what was your question again? I didn't hear you clearly. I'm sorry.
What are the facilities on site that are going to be available for the independent living personnel?
Yes.
muted.
I'm working on getting them here, so. All right.
Can you hear me by chance?
There's
Yes,
Brian.
now we can.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this evening, and certainly appreciate it. I'll save you the full pitch maybe and just respond specifically to the questions here. With regard to facilities, so we really kind of amenitize all of our communities and overly program them as well. So while you'll notice there's only approximately 192 units proposed in the site plan, the clubhouse is a little more than 10,000 square feet. So from a maybe per square foot to unit ratio, that's significantly larger than maybe what you might be used to or see in the conventional multifamily world that I believe one of the other commissioners mentioned. But more specifically, we have a fitness area, which we also program with special classes. We have various common area programmable areas where there's kind of a dedicated card room. There's movie theaters, which we used for various events. There is a kitchen that's large and available for additional resident programs. We do some various health and wellness programs throughout the year, whether it's flu shots or annual or quarterly blood pressure checks and those type of things, and as well as some outdoor amenities, whether that be pickleball or bocce ball or a swimming facility where the pool cardio classes are more popular than I've ever seen. And then, of course, we're very excited about the fact that this is going to be adjacent to a park that we get to dedicate. That trail system is certainly number one, if not in the top handful of amenities that our prospective resident, that kind of demographic, looks for, just because they are active adult. That kind of interaction we believe will be valuable as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, a couple more questions. What's the intended age demographic for this property?
Sure. So 55 and up, I believe, is the minimum. However, our average age range across the portfolio is in the low 70s. So that's typically what our communities attract to are those that are well above that age range.
And what price point are most of these? Is there, I guess, a range for the?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you know, we never know till we build it. But what we expect at least is kind of some of our smaller one bedrooms would be in that $1,300 range, and those square footages are in that 600 to 700 square foot range, and then you can get upwards of $2,200 or more a month for the largest two bedrooms. And in fact, across our portfolio, those are some of the more popular units, just because a lot of folks, this is a life-changing decision, and they're giving up something that they've owned and mowed the yard and taken care of for so long. But that space is still very attractive to them, whether it's a separate bedroom for potential grandkids to come over for the day or just for some additional storage. So, and not to mention the Golden Girl demographic, where it's to either divorcees or recent widows that have gotten together as well for that space. So.
Last thing I want to say, I want to applaud your, I guess, proposal for this site, because my mother-in-law actually lived in the complex to the east, and being her age, it was probably not a very appropriate place for her. But this sounds like this would have been, and in my opinion, there's probably a shortage of senior housing in the city of Louisville for sure. It's not easy for sure finding a place. So this seems like this is a very good use of this property.
Well, we really appreciate that and take that to heart. We look forward to having her as a resident, hopefully. But more importantly, we've identified as an organization the reality that home values continue to escalate, the cost of ownership continues to escalate, but life expectancies and desire to stay within a community are also very compelling, not to mention having adult age children who want to be around their kids as well. And Louisville, as what has been an iconically growing submarket for such an area of time, is starting to run out of rooftops, we believe, and particularly for that demographic. So we're really excited about that opportunity to solve for additional housing demand that we certainly believe exists, but maintain it at a price point that we think is middle market as well. So that's the business plan, and that's what we're excited about here. But we appreciate the compliment.
I think you'll be sold out before you're built, be my guess. Just knowing what we went through, but yeah, I appreciate it.
So commissioners, is there any more comments or anyone else before I open the public hearing? Okay, at this time, I will open up the public hearing. Let me go over again, just in case you did join a little late. If you wish to speak and you are on the computer or your smartphone application, press the raise your hand button and staff will be alerted. The other one is if you have called in on your phone, to press *9 to speak, and then staff will also be alerted at that point as well and will let me know. Thank you. Before you do speak, please identify yourself, your name and address.
Katie, would you like to speak now?
Sure. So I was the one who called in.
I'm promoting Katie to panelist so we can talk a little bit more clearly with her.
I'm sorry, it's very touchy reception. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I was the one who called in with the questions yesterday, and I've read the light industrial requirements, et cetera. So what is the intent as far as the marketing plan, and when do you anticipate this project being completed?
Actually, since that's a question about the marketing and timeline, I'll refer that one to the applicant.
Sure, that's a great question. So our plan, of course, begins with zoning approval here and then ultimately at council. But assuming that those go well, the idea would be to then spend the next several months in design to go through the actual permitting process. And then we would commence construction. So we would expect that timeline to take, I would say, 6 months from the December council hearing, not to get too far ahead of myself. So maybe it's a June construction start, plus or minus. And then it takes us approximately 12 months for first units to be delivered, and then a total construction period of 18 months. So a year and a half from June or the end of 2022. And then, so that's kind of the construction schedule. From a marketing standpoint, I appreciated Commissioner Meredith's comments about us being full within weeks. We sure would love that to be the case, but we do everything we can to kind of get out ahead of that. So what you'll notice is that we end up with a lot of pre-leasing activity that really occurs somewhere between 120 and 180 days before first units. So maybe a year from now, assuming we're about 6 months into the construction schedule, we will start that. And that is, we've noticed a lot of our residents really are somewhere between drive-by traffic, and then we're really trying to increase our online presence and the ability to attract folks that are moving to this location that don't have the opportunity to drive by the community on a day-to-day basis. But we're so there's a myriad of ways, I guess, that I could say that we market that, but that period really starts approximately 6 months before we deliver the first units in the clubhouse area. That answers your question. Please feel free to ask or provide any commentary if it doesn't.
Well, I actually have several questions. So will you retain ownership of this property?
Yes, that's a great question, and one I'm proud to say yes. So we develop these projects with a capital partner, and they're a family office actually out of California. And their and our perspective on real estate development is I think pretty different from the market as a whole. But one of the vast dichotomies that exist from us and everyone else is the idea that we expect to own these things forever, literally. So this partner has been in the real estate investment business for 30 years.
I'm sorry, I lost your connection.
Oh, I apologize. I don't know where you lost me, but the long and short of it is our capital partner and us, Sparrow, is an organization.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Katie. I'm sorry. Is everyone else having a hard time hearing me? No.
We can hear.
Katie, am I any clearer?
I missed the part after you said about the California properties. I'm the one
Okay.
who's I'm sorry, I'm out of state. The timing of this just coincided with my mother broke her hip. I'm coming out and caring for her. So
Oh no. Well, I'm really sorry to hear
it's
that.
just one of those timing things. So,
No, well, I appreciate your dedication to calling in spite of that. Wish your mother the best. I'm
so
sorry.
if you're going to retain ownership, is there any chance that this community housing would fall under federal or special financing like Section 42 housing?
No, that hasn't been a scenario that has played out across our portfolio to date. I don't know that, I guess you could ever say ever. These things are generally built to last for 50 years. So I think our expectation is to own them for at least that long, and then there will be higher and better use, or maybe there will continue to be a reason to operate. So that's kind of at least the minimum investment horizon that we look for. So there's no idea or plan for any sort of special or federal subsidy or unique financing. It'll be conventionally owned and then ultimately permanently owned.
And the next question, the park area land that's been dedicated for that, will that be touched by your construction at all, or will that remain as is and those trees and shrubs, et cetera, remain intact until the city is ready to put that park development on their project list for completion?
Yes, another great question. In fact, Joe, who's on the line as well, our civil and I were discussing that yesterday. The answer is we don't know yet. We're kind of going back and forth on trying to understand what makes the most sense for the park and the city. The reality is we want that park to come alongside our development. And so the best and most efficient way to have that executed is our desire and our goal. So there's still not a conclusive answer as to whether or not the city or Sparrow Partners will be personally responsible for executing on that. But the goal and the expectation, frankly, even from a rent standpoint, is that park is there as soon as it can be.
And I apologize for the number of questions, but obviously there's, concern. So what about as far as, will the complex itself have fencing all around it? Any lighting that's going to be directed towards those houses that are adjacent to it? Or, what type of security for the, us and them for
Sure.
that?
Joe, do you recall on the screening front, what, if anything, that we've decided to date?
Not on the screening front, Brian. I do believe we did discuss at one point perimeter fencing.
Right. And that's kind of a community minimum for us is that perimeter fencing. And then there will also be, I would say, minimal and very uninvasive lighting. It's more from just for the safety and the comfortability of the residents that are coming in after sunset to be able to park and walk safely. I will say candidly that this is at a concept plan level. So some of those details from a lighting standpoint still need to be ironed out here over the coming weeks and months. And would certainly be happy to meet with you and continue to keep you updated with the progress of those as those questions get raised and answered. But I would say that at a minimum, there will certainly be a screening or a security fence for us along the perimeter of the property that demises our community from the park, and then minimal but necessary lighting for the residents.
In addition, the city does have standards to prevent nuisance lighting adjacent to residential properties. So there are limitations on how much lighting can be seen at the property line, and any and all lights would have to be shielded so that you cannot see the bulb.
And with that setback, I apologize for the interruption. With that setback that we've provided with the bulk of the park dedication between us and the single family community, we think that creates probably a wonderful buffer, but also eliminates maybe more potential for some of the things that you might imagine otherwise.
And is there any discussion about the wildlife in that strip of area? We see hawks, egrets, there's ducks in that spillway, coyotes. We've seen some, fox-like type of animals. There's not very many places left in our area that has those type of things. Are those wild animals going to be like an area, or that would be, livable for them, to be released into in the country? Or
Sure. Another great question. I would say that the park design at this point isn't far enough along to really be able to speak to that holistically. But I will assure you that we as a developer are very collaborative, and our desire would be to work hand in hand with the Parks Department to make sure that wildlife and things that can be and should be preserved will be, but also where there's areas to be improved for the benefit of not only our community, but the surrounding immediate vicinity, that those steps would be taken as well. So there's certainly a healthy balance. Appreciate you bringing that perspective up. Frankly, it's not one that has come up yet. And so that will certainly be something that informs more of our decisions as the design progresses.
And I apologize, my last question. If your plans, the current drawings, renderings that you have, if those change, how are we going to know of those changes? You find something during construction and you have to expand one way versus another. Or, as you go through the engineering pieces. I can understand, minor changes, but if there's anything significant, how does the neighboring community become aware of those?
June, do you want to take a stab at that, and then maybe I'll fill in my thoughts? That's probably maybe as much a city question as a developer question.
Sure. So as far as city is concerned, we do have what we call a development activity report, where we try to keep up with whatever the current project that's going on. There won't be any requirement for us to notify, only because this is a concept plan, as in it's not binding. I think it's non-regulatory. However, if you keep up with the development activity report, I think you can at least follow with the latest on where they are with their phases. And it does provide a contact for the engineer. So you can, if you have additional question, you can reach out to the staff or the engineer and get some more clear answers if you have significant concern. Michelle, do you want to add anything?
No, I would just say that, yes, you can see when the project's submitted on that development activity report online. And when you see that it's in, you could always request to see a copy of the plans from either staff or the developer.
And June or Michelle, is it true that the engineering site plan still has to go to Planning and Zoning Commission as well and approved before this body, or is that a staff level approval?
No, it will be. Yeah, go ahead. No, it'll be just staff approval. Today, we're just doing a straight zone change to allow MD, and the concept plan help us make a decision because we at least know what to expect from the product. However, when you go through the actual development plan phase with the engineering site plan, it will be just a staff approval, unless you have to request some variances to our other regulations that will go straight to City Council for variances, but that's something that we can work out during the development review process.
Right, but just to clarify, to add that step that's in there as well, as Brian mentioned earlier, there's 6 months of design that we'll put towards this, prepare an engineering site plan that will get reviewed by development review staff, and there'll be further development of this plan beyond this, but it will be collaborative with the city and posted on that development report. So there's a lot more design to be done and additional approvals that are needed for this.
Right. At that time, we will just follow our general development regulations, and that should truly guide the development, as you're familiar with. Yes.
Thank you for your answers.
Well, Katie, thank you for the time. I wish your mother the best of health and safe travels back home. If you have any other questions, I believe my contact info will be made available. If not, I'll connect with June and find a way to reach out and provide that at that time.
Yes, Brian, your application was attached to our packet and it contains your email address on the application.
Okay, cool. Has it got my home address too, or just my?
Not that personal, no.
We'll have.
I've actually been on his website for Sparrow Property Partners as well, so that information's also right there. I know my husband is on this as well, so I think after what we have discussed here, I and him are not opposed to the zoning change.
Katie, would you mind providing your full name and address for the record, please?
Absolutely. Legal name or?
Yes, please.
I go by Katie, K-H-E-Y. Last name is Sinclair, S-I-N-C-L-A-I-R. Address is 1710 Summerwind Court. So we're that first cul-de-sac right on the edge of the park and open area there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item?
I do see two other attendees in the meeting, but neither of them have raised their hand. So just if you do want to raise your hand and speak, if you scroll on your screen over the bottom, you'll see a little pop-up, and one of the options will be a little hand symbol, and you can raise your hand that way. Or if you're calling in, it is *9, correct, Mary Ellen?
Yes, correct.
And just to be clear, Michelle, John Boone is, I believe one of the ones that you see, and he's with Sparrow as well. I'm not sure who named themselves Galaxy, but
Perfect. Then I think that might be Mrs. Sinclair's husband, as she mentioned. So I think that's
okay.
it.
Excellent.
And no one has raised their hands.
Okay. So I guess at this time, then we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments or questions, concerns? Well, I'm also glad to see this development. I appreciate the involvement of Katie and our, pardon me, our person who wrote in, both in favor and on opposition. And I do think we have addressed the concerns as far as the parkland and preserving the area as best as possible. I also appreciate the fact that this will come into the Thriving Neighborhoods arena of the 2025 plan, which is also very important to us as we go forward. So those are kind of my comments on this.
Chair, Mary Ellen, Katie has raised her hand again.
Okay.
Isn't the public hearing closed? Should we approach her after the meeting?
The public hearing is closed, but it's up to Mary Ellen if she'd like to allow her to speak.
Okay.
At this point, sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, how do we know the outcome of your decision, whether it's approved or disapproved? I didn't think of that. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. Katie, actually, I was about to announce that this item will be heard by City Council for the second public hearing and the final decision on the second meeting of December, which is the December 21st. That's when the City Council will hear this case and make a final decision.
And the commissioners now, I think, are going to do their final discussion and take a vote on their recommendation.
Are there any more comments from the commissioners before we take our vote? Or our motion, rather? And if not, may I have a motion, please?
I move to approve this, please.
Motion by Karen. Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Francis.
Francis, second by Francis. So we will do a roll call vote. William?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
I vote aye. Alvin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
And Francis.
Aye.
So that is 6 ayes, 1 absent. Motion passes. And the final item on the agenda for this evening is adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Move
Motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, I got two of you.
Go ahead, William.
William,
Move to adjourn.
motion
Move
by
to adjourn.
William. Motion by William. Second,
Second.
second by Francis. Roll call vote is William,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
I vote aye. Alvin,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
and Francis.
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 absent. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Stay
everybody.
Have a
safe.
wonderful
Have a good
evening.
night.
Listening from home, some instructions on how to speak if you desire to. If you are viewing on your computer or through the smartphone application, press the raise your hand button. If you have called into the meeting, press *9 to raise your hand to speak. Once your hand is raised, staff will bring this to my attention and we will let you speak after the item is read and the staff presentation is given. If you are having trouble using these features, please email planning@cityoflouisville.com or call 817-938-4409 for assistance from staff. The first item on our agenda for tonight is the approval of the minutes from the October 20th meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion?
Make a move to approve.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Francis. We'll have a roll call vote. And we have William is absent. John?
Aye.
I vote aye. Alvin is absent. Karen?
Aye.
Aram is absent. Francis?
Aye.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the hearing of plats. It's a regular hearing. It is the final plat of the 121 East Addition, Lot 2, Block A, on 11.252 acres out of the BBB and CRR Company Survey, abstract number 180. It is zoned light industrial district located on the north side of the Sam Rayburn Tollway, State Highway 121. It's at approximately 1,260 feet west of East Hill Park Road.
Commissioners, the plat for the East 121 edition was submitted on October 5th, 2020, and has been reviewed by staff. Just for your information, it will be a light industrial office warehouse type building, one larger building along the frontage of 121, and one smaller building toward the back of the property with the truck courts in the middle, just for additional information. Staff has reviewed the final plat and found following deficiencies. They need to provide a location map using the city-based map. They will need to provide a title opinion as they are required to dedicate right of way for the both existing textile right of way and proposed deceleration lane. And they need to update the Planning and Zoning Commission approval block, and they will need to provide a common or emergency access easement to the adjacent property. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission disapprove the final plat of the 121 East Edition for the deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the authority to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected.
And
Join the meeting.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to let you know that Aram is logging into the meeting, and so is Alvin now. So we'll
Okay.
give them a minute.
Okay, great.
Both the
And-
both the
Hello.
applicant and the staff is here if you guys have any questions.
Okay, thank you, June. I think we may wait here for Alvin before we go for a motion.
Yes, I just resent Alvin the link for the meeting, so let's give him a minute to try to connect. I'm going to give Alvin a quick call to see if he's able.
Okay.
Iram, I have muted you temporarily because we were getting a feedback, but hopefully we'll get back to you on once Mary Ellen calls you for the voting.
Alvin's going to call in, which means we can't really record his vote, but at least we can record that he was present for the meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I guess the last then was that June had recommended disapproval of the plat and for us to delegate to staff the authority to fix the changes when they are presented. Do I have a motion?
Move to disapprove, allow staff to gather the changes and bring it back for signature.
Motion by Karen,
I'll second.
second by John. Now we will now do a roll call vote. William is absent. John?
Aye.
I vote aye. Alvin is on the phone. Karen?
Aye.
Aram?
Aye.
Francis?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. The next item on the agenda for this evening is for adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Aram,
Second.
second by Francis. Roll call vote. John?
Aye.
I vote aye. Karen?
Aye.
Aram?
Aye.
Francis?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.